Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining today's Resideo webinar session, where we are going to talk about our Resideo Braukmann overview. My name is Fatima Guevara, and I am part of the Resideo training team. And on behalf of all of us, I'd like to welcome you to our training session today. Information on our upcoming webinar sessions are posted on our website at resideo.com/webinars. You can find upcoming webinars by searching under the Discipline tab by the title HVAC or Plumbing on the left-hand side of the search bar, so be sure to register. You can find the recorded webinar sessions on this same website by selecting On Demand on the right-hand side of the filters. For those contractors joining us for today's live session and you are interested in earning one NATE continuing education credit, there are a few things to note. If you provided your NATE ID on your registration form, we will submit those details to NATE and we don't need any additional information from you at this time. If you did not provide us with your NATE ID on your registration form for this webinar and you would like to receive credit for attending our live session, then we ask you to email your first name, last name, NATE ID, and the date of the session you attended to homes.university@resideo.com within 1 week from today. This information is submitted to NATE 1 week following the close of each live session. Any request sent outside of 1 week from this training cannot be processed. As a reminder, we can only process requests for NATE credits when you attend the live webinar sessions. If you would like more information about the NATE program, please visit their website at www.natex.org. One quick note before we begin the technical presentation, all attendees are muted. However, if you would like to ask a question, please use the Q&A feature found in your Zoom webinar controls. We are reserving the last few minutes of our time today to answer your questions. So now we're going to turn over the presentation to Dylan Morgan, who is one of our product support specialists, and Chris Levy, who is part of our technical training specialist team. So Dylan and Chris, take it away.
Thank you, Fatima. Today we're going to be talking about a little bit about Resideo and Braukmann. We're going to cover thermostatic mixing valves, MX series large flow mixing valves. We have our thermostatic mixing and diverting valve, a little bit about pressure regulators, water filters, hydronic circulating pumps, touch on thermostatic and electronic radiator valves, venting, air vents, and boiler fill valves, and magnetic separators. And reserving some time, as she said earlier, to questions and answers at the end. Resideo's Braukmann portfolio includes hydronic heating and plumbing specialties such as anti-scald mixing valves, air elimination products, zone valves and motors, and components for OEMs. Resideo acquired Sparco Braukmann in 2000, as well as an addition to Resideo's already robust water solutions portfolio. Our mixing valves, the AM1, the AMX, and the UMD series thermostatic mixing valves. Thermostatic mixing valve, TMV, is a valve that blends hot and cold with cold water to ensure constant and safe water to prevent overheating in application. In a potable application, TMVs are used for anti-scald, storing water at a higher temperature to prevent Legionella, and to increase the available hot water without increasing the tank size. In hydronic heating applications, they can be used to temper water to a more heat-sensitive portion of an application, such as in-floor heat, or if you have a concrete slab with in-floor, to make sure you don't denature the concrete, to temper the return water to prevent boiler shock, and to increase the available of hot water without increasing the tank size. As for how much a system can benefit from this virtual tank, where you're heating the tank higher than you normally would, but then introducing cold water to produce the mix, your sales rep can help assist with the calculations on that to see how much extra water you would get and what temperatures you need to set it to. The AM1 series, nickel-plated bronze construction with EPDM O-rings, straight through design, the hot and cold are at the same level, designed for easy maintenance and element replacement. They come in sweat, threaded, CPVC, PEX, press, and compression connections, Teflon-coated spool and body to help prevent mineral buildup and extend the life of the internal components. Minimum required temperature difference between the hot and mix is 3 degrees Fahrenheit. We do have lead-free models. Just look for LF right in the model number. Built-in check valves on the hot and cold ports for all union fit models. And we now also have available a temperature gauge adapter in lead-free brass material with an EPDM O-ring. These can be mounted as point of source or point of service. Remember to check the ratings of each mixing valve before installing. We also have the AMX Direct Connect mixing valve, point of source. Application flexibility available in multiple connection types. Easy recirculation because it has a built-in recirc port. Built-in check valve, again, Teflon coating to increase the product life. And an adjustable temperature range of 90 to 130 degrees with a direct connect to the water heater. And when I say direct connect, it literally drops right in on top of the water heater. You can see here with a standard mixing valve, you have to do a T for the cold water side. And some plumbers prefer just to drop in the mixing valve and T over directly into it. We also have the undersink mixing valve, the UMD series. The ask from the field was code compliant, undersink mixing valve that is easy to install. This was definitely a field request, and we definitely made it happen. To provide an ASSE 1070 approved mixing valve, lead-free, that fits any installation. Responsive thermostatic element in a 3 and 4 or 4 port configuration. That little T on the bottom unscrews, and you can mount it in the 3-port option, or you can leave it there and then you have a 4-port option. Has the integral check valves in the hot and cold inlets. Hidden temperature engagement for tamper-resistant temperature, because this is of course expected to be point of service. And it is NSF 61 low lead compliant. The AMX 300 mixing valve, a complete kit. This is what I have in my house. Entire kit in one box. ASSE 1017 certified valve with whole house protection with an optional recirculation port. It also has a auxiliary port for high temp water, so you can go ahead and send hot water to a dishwasher or laundry or anywhere else permitted by code. Eliminates the need to have an additional T. And it has an auxiliary cold port on the cold water T for ice maker or steam humidification. It took me longer to go to the store and get the necessary plumbing connections than it did to actually install this guy. It does install very quickly and very easily. This brings us to the MX series large flow mixing valves. They feature bronze stainless steel construction, built-in recirculation port, and lead-free construction. They're available all the way from 1 inch all the way up to 2 inches in NPT, with 45 to 65 degrees centigrade for both of them. The label is in centigrade, so that's why I bring it up that way, which is 113 to 149 degrees Fahrenheit. And the flange, which is your 2.5 and your 3-inch size. Non-corrosive material, again, can go in very versatile as to how they install with the built-in recirc port. Teflon coated internal wear surfaces to reduce mineral deposit buildup and extend the service life, and provide constant water temperature control through fast response and accurate water temperature control. Some things to remember for all thermostatic mixing valves, and these have been kind of curated by the questions that we get on the tech team. There will be a required temperature difference between the hot and the mixed water for most valves. Some may require as many as a 25-degree drop from the hot to the mixed, depending on the rating of the valve and style of the valve. So remember to check the product data for additional information. The reason we bring that one up is sometimes people will try to put 120-degree hot in and try to get 120-degree mixed out, and you just can't do that. The closest you're going to be able to get is probably 117 mixed out. So if it's mission critical for that, something to keep in mind is there is going to be a differential between the hot and the mixed. Additionally, there will be a required hot and cold side pressure differential. Normally on open loop potable water, this is not an issue, but if your customer is using well water, recirculation, or multiple pumps, the installing tech may need to investigate the pressure. Typically, you want your hot and cold water to be within 10 psi of each other. The installing technician may need to add a ball valve to bring down the cold water pressure in some of these cases. Additionally, there may be minimum and maximum GPM based on valve selection. Work with your team to make sure you're selecting the correct valve for your application. And last but not least, on-demand water heaters may work differently with a mixing valve. Make sure to check with the OEM of the water heater for compatibility with our mixing valves. Here's our thermostatic mixing or diverting valve. Every once in a while we do get asked, well, can I mount the mixing valve as a diverting valve? And the answer is we have one of those. The V135 Thermostatic Mixing or Diverting Valve can be used as standalone, or you can add a T100R actuator. It can be piped for mixing or diverting applications. Here's the T100R. Thermostatic actuator includes a strap-on pipe sensor. The little knurled ring that you can see there is to go ahead and easily mount it to the valve body for the V135. Here's directly out of the manual how you would typically install it either for a mixing valve application or a diverting valve application. I typically tell the team that how you're going to mount it, if you need a mixing valve versus a diverting valve, is depending if you're trying to temper the water leaving the boiler directly to the supply or attempting to temper the water going to the supply based on how the return's coming in. So how it is plumbed and piped is going to depend on your application and your needs. Pressure regulation through pressure regulators. A pressure regulator is a control valve that reduces the input pressure of a fluid to a desired value at its output. In our case, we use pressure regulators to control water, typically for a whole system, typically to reduce successive city water pressure to safe and manageable levels. You're thinking about the house at the bottom of a hill where the water tower is at the top of the hill. And if they don't get some kind of pressure regulator, the water just sprays out of the faucets, occasionally even popping sinks off the fixtures, which is never, or so the fixture off the sink, which is never a good idea. A differential pressure regulator is a control valve that eliminates excessive pump head pressure when most hydronic fixture valves are closed by opening itself whenever the difference between the supply and the return reaches the set point. Here's the DS06 DialSet low lead pressure regulating valve. The Resideo DS06 DialSet pressure regulating valve is a high quality pressure regulating valve that maintains a constant outlet pressure over a wide range of inlet supply pressures, suitable for potable water and irrigation applications. The downstream pressure adjustment dial eliminates the need for a pressure gauge when adjusting the pressure setting for static pressure only. It's available all the way between 1/2 inch to 2 inch, sold as a female MPT threaded inlet and outlet, externally threaded for unions. It'll handle up to 250 PSI max, and it should be able to reduce that to 25 to 90 PSI with a differential of 14.5 PSI minimum inlet to outlet. And it does have a field serviceable cartridge. The D146 differential pressure regulator eliminates the excessive head pressure by when most heating fixture valves are closed due to reduced demand by controlling flow through the bypass line where the difference between the supply and return exceeds the set point. The way I explain this to the team is you've got a multiple valve system that has a big enough pump to have heat or have hot water reach all the fixtures, but now you only have 1 or 2 valves calling, and now you have excess head pressure. Rather than have pipes rattle and have excess wear and tear on the system, installing a bypass valve allows that extra pressure to go somewhere. But if all the fixtures open back up and you do need all that head pressure to move your water through the system, the differential bypass valve will close, allowing the water to flow correctly through the system. Water filters. Water sediment filters. High flow capacity water filters are used to remove sediment and debris from residential or commercial water systems, thus protecting the components of the system. Typically used for whole house protection when installed as a pre-filter, or for other more specialized filters for the system. Most Resideo sediment filters have a backwash feature that allows for the cleaning of the filter with uninterrupted water service to the application. The MV876 can be mounted to some sediment filters to allow an automatic backwash cycle. The F76 Water Filter. High flow capacity water filter used to remove sediment and debris from residential or commercial water systems. Gives whole house protection, ideally suited for sediment removal applications that would quickly plug and restrict the flow of normal filters. Used as a pre-filter, the F76 protects elements of the water system, including specialized treatment devices or common fixtures and appliances. The flow filtering capacity and ease of cleaning make the F76S ideal for most demanding applications. Has a built-in secondary filter to provide an uninterrupted supply of filtered water during backwash. This will take the MV876 automatic backwash control. You can mount it directly to it. Comes in all the way from 1/2 inch all the way up to 2-inch pipe sizes. It is designed for potable use, but is not available in current lead-free. MV876 for automatic backwash. This is taken right out of the manual. You can see that you just remove the backwash filter knob and attach the MV876 exactly where it went. Plug it in and you're good to go. The FK06 pressure reducing valve and filter combination. The need was faster install times to protect the equipment from premature failure. We provide the filter and PRV combination that prevents an ingress of foreign matter and protects against overpressurization. It does so through a constant pressure diaphragm technology and a removable 50-micron filter, 2-in-1. So it has, as alluded earlier, a rinsable 50-micron filter. Built-in adjustment dial eliminates the need for gauge when adjusting the static pressure setting. Non-corroding unitized cartridge contains all the working parts and is easily replaceable. Outlet pressure adjustment ranges are suitable for household, light commercial, industrial, and turf and irrigation applications, and is available in lead-free. Additionally, if you have a DS06 already in the field, you can go ahead and take an FK06 number 2 off the parts to clear filter bowl with the filter and the carrier body and field upgrade your DS06 to an FK06. AquaPUMPS, hydronic circulating pumps. Some of the common characteristics of the fixed speed AquaPUMPs: twist to fit universal flange, rotates 90 degrees to fit most installations with a single product. 3 pumps cover every application. 3-speed versatility maximizes efficiency and provides sufficient flow rates with a single pump. So 3 pumps that can be mounted in multiple configurations, typically and replace up to 18 pumps on a Tex truck with the above features. Universal design replaces a wide range of competitive models with just one brand. Check valves are included with every pump, and check valve replacements are available. They're intended for closed loop hydronic heating and cooling systems. We do not have potable rated pumps. And again, this pump is intended for non-submersible, dry, frost-free, well-ventilated installations. Cannot be used as a sump pump. 2017, we did some seamless improvements to the pumps where we added additional torque at startup and it added more corrosion-resistant materials. Here they are, the 15 max, the 25 max, and the 45 gallons per minute max. We've also added to this line variable speed circulating pumps in cast iron and stainless steel with an ECM and electronically communicated motor. The flow range on these is 0 to 20 US gallons per minute. The head range is 0 to 20 feet. Multiple pressure operating modes. They accept a 0 to 10 volt DC input for their operation. Variable speed being more efficient than fixed speed. It has to have a universal flange, 30% more efficient operating than PSCs, and a 5-year warranty. Thermostatic and electronic radiator valves. Thermostatic radiator valve, or TRV, is a self-regulating valve that's fitted to a hot water or steam heating system or radiator to control the temperature of the room by changing the flow of hot water or steam to the fixture. The valve contains a cartridge that changes position to allow greater or lesser flow of heat to the fixture. Complete offering including standard 1-pipe and high-capacity 2-pipe for steam or hot water. Removal of the operating controller puts the valve in full open mode. We occasionally have to walk a customer through that on the line where their head seems to have given out, and we can at least get them full heat instead of no heat. No mixing occurs at the valve, just the flow rate of either the hot water or steam is adjusted. Resideo offers both universal replacements and electronic programmable actuators, as well as multiple sizes for different capacities. The V200, 2000, and V110 body styles What body you would use would depend on the application and how the fixture is piped in. In the case of a replacement body, you try and match what was there. In the case of a new install, the application designer would have an opinion on which valve to use. The V200s and 2000s are the standard size. The V110 is the high capacity. The other difference between them is the heads that they take. They do have a different assortment of radiator actuator heads that go to them. The T100s, these are going to be your standard capacity thermostatic radiators. These are going to be paired with the V200 and 2000s. You can do sense and set point at the handle, control at the valve, sense, control, and set point at the handle, and set point and control at the handle, sense at the bulb. Again, which one you're going to use is really going to come down to what valve body you've selected and how it fits best in the room. If it's just a radiator in the room and they just need to be able to twist a knob, the sense, control, and set point at the handle is the style you're going to go with. If they have a fixture where fin tube lives in and that you don't want to have to open the fixture and reach their arm in all the way every time, maybe sense and set point at the handle where control at the valve would work better for you. Again, these are all application and customer driven. The T104 high capacity thermostatic radiator actuator has a few more options for the head, where you have the sense, control, and set point of the handle in two versions. One is, of course, the tamper resistant. It's harder for people to play with. That's going to be in your more public locations where you don't necessarily want people adjusting them. You have more sense and set point at handle versus sense at bulb, set point at handle, and control at valve. You spread those out a little bit more. The biggest thing that we tell people in the field, because we do get the call fairly often on the tech team, if I've got one of your radiator valves, I don't know which one it is. I don't know which head I need to get. And the way we tell everyone is that the standard bodies have 30mm collars and the high capacity bodies have 40mm collars. So if you can at least tell us the size of the collar, we can help start pointing you in the right family direction. And from there, you can make a decision that best fits your customer. The T2040 universal thermostatic radiator actuator works for all 30mm Resideo thermostatic radiator actuators. So that will fit on both the V2000 and the V200 style. Also, with the little snap connector we added, it'll work on a Dan Foss 30mm radiator valve as well. HR90 TheraPro electronic radiator controller. Programmable digital thermostatic radiator valve is the first of its kind and will work on most radiator models. Provides a superior solution for temperature control, cost savings, and ease of use for customers using radiator heat versus universal control that features appropriate eco function to automatically reduce energy costs and a backlit display for easy reading and adjustable display position. It has different operating modes and day functions that can be selected if required: automatic, eco, manual, holiday, party, and day off mode. The day off is a separate daily program that can be activated for special days like public holidays. It also has a built-in auto window function. The radiator valve closes when venting the room. It basically can sense if there's a radical drop in room temperature, indicating that a window is open, and it will go ahead and shut itself off so that, well, you're not just pumping heat outside. That's a popular function for landlords. In eco mode, it lowers the temperature by 5 degrees. Optimize control of the room temperature by a start-stop of the radiator. Controller calculates when to open or close the valve in order to achieve the desired room temperature at the set time. So it does have an algorithm for reaching set point. Air vents. A quick note on closed loop versus open loop systems. Closed loop system is a sealed hydronic system with a regulated amount of water. This water is typically bled to remove oxygen as a contaminant. The system may also contain chemical treatment to allow the water to heat or cool beyond the normal limitations of water, i.e. glycol. Bleeding a water system requires an air eliminator, normally at multiple points throughout the system. An open loop system is a heating, cooling, or domestic use system that contains dissolved oxygen. It can be attached to city water, an aquifer, or a well, and is not bled to remove the oxygen. Domestic potable water system is considered open loop. Modern code in most areas of the country do not allow for open loop heating and cooling, as there is too much chance for cross-contamination of not potable water. SuperVent Air Eliminator eliminates air from hydronic heating without the bleed. After you've gone ahead and bled out your system, you can leave this guy open a 1/4 inch or just a 1/4 twist, and it will continuously help remove air from the system. It's available in sweat, threaded, and press, not for potable use. The EA79 industrial air vent, built-in shutoff valve for servicing without the system shutdown. You can see right there on the label, it's got the open and the closed portion. You can go ahead and physically twist it from open to closed, and that shuts off water flow into the valve, which allows you to take the top off, service the valve without getting sprayed in the face. You can keep the system up and running. Has a built-in vacuum breaker. The float valve and assembly is removable to allow easy servicing. Safety drain connection and vent cap with leakage guard, brass shell construction. The internal parts are made of corrosion resistant and chemical resistant materials for use with water systems containing glycol, mineral oils, or petroleum-based oils. Replaces the Hoffman number 79 or Dole number 75 vent. Maintains quiet and efficient operation. And we have the EA122 A and B automatic air vent for non-heating and heating system applications. Built-in shutoff valve for servicing the system without system shutdown. It's harder to tell on that black plastic, but it has, again, the open and closed, so you can go ahead and twist the top. Go ahead and shut off water flow to the valve, again, to be able to open it without getting sprayed. Includes removable float assembly for easy servicing, not for use in steam systems. Body cover and float assembly are made of thermoplastics. The internal parts are made of corrosion resistant and chemical resistant materials for use with water systems containing light concentrations, glycol, mineral oils, petroleum-based oils. Oil resistant seal, EPDM seat disc and O-ring. It's available in potable and non-potable heating only options. Remember to check your full model number. Lastly, we get asked occasionally on the tech team, with so many options, why would you pick one vent versus another? And this is an application design question having to do with code, local good building practices, and the equipment the customer has already selected. Your Resideo sales rep may have insight as to what does well in your area and why. Boiler fill valves. Boiler fill valves are the valves that are used to control water flow into a boiler. Normally, a closed loop system should not need to be filled except in the event of either leaks or service that removed water to service parts. The boiler fill valve system normally contains a couple parts: a fill valve of some kind and a backflow preventer of some kind. The BP900 backflow preventer with intermediate atmospheric vent for heating systems. Specialized backflow preventer may be installed at strategic locations in the plumbing system, wherever there's a risk of contaminated fluids entering the water supply lines. This helps protect the municipality's water against contaminated water floating back into contaminated municipal supply. The DialSet boiler fill valve, the BF06, pressure regulating valve for automatic control of boiler feed water and other pressure reducing applications. You can get that as a standalone, or you can get it with the BP900 already attached as the FM911. Additionally, we have the NK300S boiler fill valve. Boiler fill combination valve. It's a dual check valve PRV combination. Integrated components. It is an inlet and outlet ball valve. Pressure test taps for inlet, middle, outlet chamber of the check valves. Comes with a pressure gauge. It's available in sweat, threaded, and press tail pieces. Again, for closed loop heating applications, and is ASSE 1081 certified. Resideo magnetic hydraulic separator. Used to enhance system performance of a closed loop heating system. We have union adapter models or flange connections. It will air eliminate, do magnetic separation, will do dirt separation, removes the need for closely spaced tees, and does come with an insulated jacket. The key features of the magnetic hydraulic separator is it saves time and money on the job. The cost of the separator is typically offset by the reduced labor on site with the bonus of including air elimination, magnetic separation, and dirt removal. All of this helps keep the heat exchanger clear and free of debris. And that is what I have. Do we have any questions?
Thank you so much, Dylan, for walking us through this presentation training today. As a quick reminder, if you do have questions on anything that was reviewed today, please take a few moments and enter that information into the Q&A feature in your Zoom controls, and we will do our best to address your questions in the time we have remaining. We're going to give it around 1 minute to see if we get any questions. Seems that we don't have any questions for today's presentation, but if you do think of a question after the close of the training, please reach out to your local Resideo sales rep or send an email to homes.university@resideo.com. Training is something we are very passionate about at Resideo, and we want to make sure that you have access to more in-depth trainings on our products. Inside of our online learning platform, you will be able to find many in-depth technical and sales trainings. You can access this online training catalog by visiting the training page on our Resideo Pro website. Currently, we have about 20 online learning modules available, including several modules on our humidification portfolio, the T10 thermostat, and the Prestige IAQ thermostat. Also, if you are a Resideo Perks member, you will receive training credit when you enroll and take this online trainings as well. If you are interested on our online training catalog, we encourage you to sign up for the Resideo Pro Portal account to access these trainings. To find out more information about our upcoming webinar sessions, please visit resideo.com/webinars. And if you search by the title HVAC or plumbing tabs, you will find the details for our upcoming sessions. Additionally, we record each of these sessions, and you can find those recordings on this same website by filtering for webinars with the label On Demand. One last reminder for those contractors who did not include your NATE ID on your registration form and you would like to receive credit for today's session, please send an email with your first name, last name, NATE ID number, and the date of the session you attended to homes.university@resideo.com within 1 week of today's live webinar to receive credit for attending this live training. Once our training session ends today, you will be prompted to complete a survey regarding our webinar session. Please take a few minutes to provide us with your feedback. We use your feedback to help us create future trainings, so your feedback is important. Finally, you will receive an email from us in a few days with some follow-up information on the products we reviewed today, as well as the link to the website for information on our future webinars. Make sure to join us next week on Tuesday, February 24th at 2 p.m. Central for our next training session on our ducted dehumidifiers installation. Thank you all for joining today's Resideo webinar session. Have a great day, everyone.